Beneath the ordinary world lies a veil, and behind it, the voices of the lost still whisper.
We are your guides into the shadows, where true crime meets the paranormal.
From chilling crimes to haunted histories, we uncover the stories that refuse to rest.
This is Veil of Echoes.
Y'all hearing me, ain't ya? My name is Bill Wilkins. I died in this bloody chair. But death don't mean I left. They thought this house was theirs. The family, the little girl. The child thought she could sleep with me standing right behind her. They heard me in the walls, in the ceilings, in the corners where the dock piles up. They heard my voice crawl out of her mouth, while her eyes won't look in the right way. You think you're safe listening to this story, far from Enfield? I hear all of you listening, but I like the quiet ones best. They never notice when I sit right beside them.
You're listening to episode 25, The Enfield Poltergeist, the voice that didn't belong.
Welcome back to Veil of Echoes. Tonight we're opening the door to one of the most documented hauntings ever recorded. A case so violent, so relentless, it changed paranormal investigation forever.
Inside a small council home in Enfield, a family fought something they couldn't see. Something that spoke, thought, and refused to leave.
And at the center of it all, a voice calling itself Bill Wilkins. A man long dead. A presence no one invited in.
Tonight, you're not just hearing the story. You're stepping into the room with him. We're your hosts. I'm Bria.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Zach.
Each week, we walk the line between the living and the echoes that refuse to stay quiet. Tonight, that line is thinner than ever, and something on the other side is listening.
Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This episode contains disturbing audio references, possession-like behavior, and descriptions of a child experiencing violent paranormal activity.
Listeners, discretion is advised.
Before we begin, thank you for supporting our show, for following, rating, and reviewing us. You help more people find their way into the veil.
If you have a haunting or a case you want us to cover, message us anytime on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at Veil of Echoes Podcast.
Your suggestions might just become the next episode.
Now, let's return to Green Street, to the house that wouldn't stay quiet, and to the voice that didn't belong to the living. In the late summer of 1977, Peggy Hodgson had only just moved her 4 children, Margaret, 13, Janet, 11, Johnny, 10, and Billy, 7, into their new council house at 284 Green Street. It was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance to rebuild, and the first few nights were calm, until the night the house knocked back.
Peggy was settling into the living room when she heard it, a sharp, deliberate knock from upstairs. She waited, Another. At first, she sighed. It had to be the kids settling in, or Johnny messing around with his sisters. But when she reached the bottom of the stairs, she heard the girls whispering. Not laughing, not arguing. Whispering.
Peggy opened the girls' bedroom door. And instead of mischief, she found Janet and Margaret sitting upright, clinging to their blankets, staring at the wall behind their beds. They said the knocking was coming from inside the wall. Peggy touched the wallpaper, still cold. Then Janet gasped. The girls' beds began to shake beneath them.
Not wildly, not with force, but enough that Peggy could hear the frame moving and feel the air shift with it. Janet grabbed her mom's arm, telling her to make it stop. Peggy tried to calm them, tried to rationalize it, told them it was nothing. But the girls weren't imagining it, and neither was she.
It's me.
Eventually, the shaking faded. The knocking stopped. And Peggy coaxed the girls back into bed. But she didn't sleep. And neither did they. Because whatever had moved inside that wall didn't feel like the creak of a settling house. It felt aware.
The next night, the house went quiet again until the same hour. Another knock. Another bed tremble. Janet screamed for her mum. Peggy rushed upstairs, and that's when she saw it. The chest of drawers in the corner of the room slowly sliding across the floor toward the bedroom door.
Peggy shouted for the girls to get behind her. She shoved the dresser back, confusion turning into fear, a beat of silence. Then, the dresser slid forward again, harder.
Don't open that.
Peggy pushed with all of her strength, but something on the other side pushed back harder. The dresser wasn't wobbling, wasn't tipping. It was being forced towards them. Janet clung to Peggy, crying that something was in the room with them. And Peggy believed her, because she could feel it too.
The dresser lurched again. First inches, then more, as if something behind it wanted the doorway blocked. One of them trapped. Peggy pulled her daughters into the hallway just as the dresser jolted forward a third time. She didn't look back.
Come back here.
Barefoot, shaking, Peggy dragged her kids down the stairs, out the front door, and across the street to the neighbors. Her heart was pounding, her hands were trembling, because something had moved that dresser. Something had shaken those beds. Something inside that house wanted them afraid. And it was getting exactly what it wanted. So, if your children told you that the walls were knocking, and that the next night a dresser tried to pin you in the room, would you guys go back inside?
No.
Unfortunately, I would.
I don't know. I'd be too scared. I mean, I don't even know what I would have to be put in that position.
No, because the first time I leave, I'm taking the kids and the pets, and then there's no reason for me to return. My clothes would be alright.
Be like, this dresser just tried to kill me.
See, I don't know what it is, but I would want to go back in there just so that I could be like, did I really see that?
Well,
did that really happen?
And I would only go back if, like, we got the kids out, and then I'd go and investigate, just in case.
I mean, I'm with Zach on it, though. I would get the kids and the animals out and be like, my clothes can stay there. It's all right.
Right.
But then the other half of me is like, no, you really want to go back in there. You really want to go back in there.
Well, because I think it'd be just a shock of the moment. Like, did I really just see this?
I mean, it's literally the phrase "curiosity killed the cat."
Because, like, when this house makes weird noises, I just blame the animals, you know?
That's the only thing you can't do is blame the animals.
Exactly.
It's nothing else. It's just the animals.
Yeah.
So. I swear it wasn't Eddie knocking from the other side.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Wasn't Eddie Munson knocking from the upside down.
That would be cool.
Because when the neighbors returned with Peggy and saw signs of the disturbances for themselves, they urged her to call police. And what those officers witnessed inside 284 Green Street would become one of the most chilling documented events in modern paranormal history.
Peggy stood shivering on the neighbor's doorstep, Janet crying into her side, Margaret pale and shaking. The boys half asleep and terrified. She rushed out her story, trying to explain the dresser, the knocking, the shaking beds. But her neighbors didn't laugh. They didn't dismiss her. They grabbed their coats and followed her straight back across the street to 284 Green Street.
Inside, the house felt different. Still, but charged, as if the walls were listening. The neighbors called out for anyone hiding. They checked under beds, behind doors, in closets, everywhere. No intruder, no prank, just a heavy, uncomfortable silence. Until the same steady rhythm right behind the living room wall.
That was enough. The neighbors insisted Peggy call the police. Within minutes, 2 officers arrived. Constable Carolyn Heaps and her colleague. They started with the basics. Search the house, look for signs of forced entry, check the windows, check the garden. But nothing was out of place. Nothing except the feeling that someone else was inside the house, watching.
While the officers were in the living room, everyone heard it at once. Officer Heaps turned her head just in time to see a wooden chair slide across the floor, about 4 feet. No wires, no hands, no explanation, just movement. And she froze.
In her official written statement, she said the chair moved in a manner that was unexplainable. Her partner confirmed it. Peggy burst into tears because now she wasn't alone. Someone else, someone official, had witnessed it too. And the officers, they didn't laugh. They didn't scold her. They simply said whatever was happening inside that home was beyond anything they could handle.
Before they left, Officer Heaps walked slowly across the living room, running her hands over the chair that moved. She didn't say much. The neighbors later recalled the look on her face. She knew Peggy wasn't lying, and she knew something was wrong here.
Told ya, didn't I?
Word spread quickly. Police witnessing unexplained activity wasn't something the press ignored. Soon, reporters knocked on the door of 284 Green Street. Questions, flashes, whispers. But the Hodgsons didn't want fame. They wanted help. Real help. Help that arrived in the form of a middle-aged man from the Society for Psychical Research. A man whose life will never be the same after stepping inside that house.
His name was Maurice Grosse. He came carrying notebooks, cameras, and a tape recorder that would capture hundreds of hours of whatever lived inside this house. He stepped into the living room where the chair had moved, and the air shifted. Someone else felt it too.
Who's this one?
Maurice didn't know it yet, but the entity inside 284 Green Street had just taken notice of him, and he was about to witness things that defy science, logic, and every piece of equipment he brought with him.
So, if a police officer watched your furniture move and still couldn't help you, what would you guys do?
Call the clergy.
I'm gonna say call a priest.
Call in the Vatican.
I'm getting some holy water.
Call in the Vatican.
Like, hey man, I don't know what you guys know, but some shit is going down. That's no sugar being thrown around.
And then don't they
but
though
furniture.
have to have evidence of it too?
Oh,
You can't just
yeah,
say
they can't. Yeah, they have to have very
recording,
damning evidence
So you
for
can't
them
just
to
call and say, this
Yeah.
furniture
Yeah.
just moved.
Because you
Hey,
remember
my
the
chair.
first thing Ed mentioned to him when he brought
Yeah.
all those people in, he's like, oh, who are all these people? And she's like, well, we had to check and make sure if it's not a hoax. And she's like, get out, the bloody all of you.
Yeah.
She did.
It's like,
I mean,
I just know that's a thing.
like,
Well, same with the Exorcist.
yeah, it's all just have to be investigated
from the,
first. Because
I had to get all this evidence and stuff, which I get it.
yeah, I mean, well, it's, if you think about it, it's, I mean, I don't really know if it would actually do anything, but it's like almost taking resources away from the church when it, was probably just
Right.
something completely explainable, and from the first Conjuring when Ed and Lorraine are up in that house and they explain it's the pipes, that's what you're hearing.
Yes.
To me, you would have to have extreme hardcore evidence in order for me to even believe it.
I mean, yeah, because anybody could,
Yeah. I mean, and the constable could have checked it and been like, no, there wasn't any, but you never know. There could have been somebody else in another room. Fish string on the end of the chair legs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really not going to notice that very well.
No, not at all.
So it's like,
Is this legit?
is it legit or what's actually going on here?
Someone messing with us.
let's myth bust this shit.
Yeah.
Veil busting.
Veil busting. Okay. I
gonna-
like that.
We're gonna reenact these movie scenes and see if they are real or not.
Veilbusters. Sorry, that's funny.
Who are you going to call?
And the echoes will talk back.
They'll definitely talk back.
Yeah, then I don't want them to.
I'm like, see, this couldn't have been done. You start yanking it different ways, and then somebody just kicks that one. Well, that wasn't me that time.
Not that time, but,
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill? Bill, is that you?
Oh, is that probably his chair? They took it out of his house and put it in that one bar, and that's the death chair?
Oh, that would be
You don't sit in my
hilarious.
chair. It's my chair.
Death.
Everyone who sits in Bill's chair, you're dead.
Dead.
Yeah.
You're
that would
dead.
make
This is
sense.
my chair. This is where my ass has sat for 80 years. It ain't your chair. All right?
And they legitly kept that chair. That's the thing that I don't understand.
I mean, you know what?
I mean, if you
They
move
said
into
they
a
put it on
house
the
and
wall.
there's...
Oh, you're talking about the Bill Wilkins
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
say. Yeah, that
I
one they should
mean,
have did something
why not? Just
It's free.
you
Well,
know
'cause
what?
wasn't kind of like the DeVeos and the Lutzes. They moved into their house furnished.
Yeah, the
There's
beds.
some things they changed, but not much.
Here, my family got murdered in here, or
Well,
Yeah,
my
what about
family
that-
was murdered in here. Let's just keep
Leave the
sleeping in their
beds here.
beds.
Well, what about the real life one? That woman that moved into Murray Travis's, and then
Oh, the table.
yeah, the table that he was doing all that shit on, and she's like, I couldn't eat dinner there no more.
Oh,
Well, I
no.
bet.
Well, obviously, you dumbass.
I would have been asking questions when I first moved in. How long is this table? been
Okay, so
here?
note to self: always ask when you move in.
Always ask.
Always make
questions.
sure that the furniture has, one, not been in a murder investigation, or two, a suicide. Like, you just gotta know.
It's a good icebreaker, though. You walk in there, be like, "Hey, it's nice to meet you." First thing you say, "How many died in this house?"
Where'd that chair come from?
Where'd that chair come from? Oh, this is just a really nice chair. The owners really just they said that you guys deserved it,
Like,
so
whose
they
goddamn
wanted
white
you
table is
to
that?
they wanted you to keep it. Okay, okay, Nancy. What's the real story behind the freaking chair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, just like Murder House, first season of.
Oh, yeah. American Horror Story.
She said something about how many people died, and she's like, You never disclosed that with me. Well, you didn't ask.
Fuck, I didn't have to.
I mean,
I think that's a big change in the laws like that now. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
they're
gotta be
supposed to disclose that information.
yes. Because on his very first night in the house, Maurice Grosse would hear knocks that answered him, objects that moved when no one touched them, and a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. On September 5th, 1977, investigator Maurice Grosse stepped into 284 Green Street for the first time. He didn't arrive with theatrics. No bravado, just a stack of notebooks, a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and the quiet conviction of a man who had seen grief and believed the world held more than most people admitted. What he didn't know yet was that this night would mark the beginning of an investigation that would keep him returning to the Hodgson home for the next 18 months. Sometimes staying overnight, sometimes sleeping on the couch, but always on call.
Maurice had lost his daughter a year earlier, and maybe that's what made him listen differently. Pay attention to quiet things. Trust people others didn't. Peggy said something was inside her home. Maurice believed she believed it, and so he unpacked his equipment and began his first night.
His journal entry from that night, written in tight, meticulous handwriting, reads like the beginning of a war report. Night 1. Knocking begins 9:27 p.m. Family in living room. Knocks appear to respond to questions. Temperature drop noticeable near the wall. He wasn't even fully set up before the house announced itself.
Maurice threaded tape through the recorder and pressed record. He sat in the living room with Peggy and the children, asking simple questions. In the house, answered. 1 knock for yes, 2 for no. Is someone here with us? Peggy gasped quietly. Do you want to speak? 2 knocks. No.
But then came something harder to explain. Knocks in different parts of the room, one after another, like footsteps traveling through the wall. Maurice walked the perimeter, pressing his hands against the wallpaper, against pipes, against outlets. There was nothing behind the sound. Nothing living, anyway.
Around 10:40 p.m., Maurice opened his notebook again. Small objects, falling from air. Marbles, no visible arc, no spin. Drop straight down as if placed. Marbles, appearing out of nowhere, falling straight down, no bounce. Investigators, decades later, still can't explain it. And on that tape from night 1, you can hear Maurice gasp in disbelief.
He said it felt like someone was standing right beside him, dropping them one by one.
Watching ya.
Then something happened that Maurice wrote about for the rest of his life. A stack of notebook pages, lying flat on the table, lifted into the air and drifted to the floor like someone had brushed past them. But no one had moved. Maurice wrote, "Paper rose without visible cause. No drought, no vibration, movement deliberate."
And still, This wasn't the moment that shook Maurice the most. That came later. When he placed Janet and Margaret in their beds and sat quietly in their room as the house settled, he waited, listened, with the tape rolling.
Around 2:13 a.m., Maurice recorded a sudden temperature drop. Then the girls' beds began to vibrate. Softly, just like night one. But this time, Maurice felt it himself. He reached out a hand and touched Janet's bed frame. And his journal says, "Bed is moving. No children touching frame." He pressed harder. The bed pushed back.
Peggy was in the doorway, holding her breath. Maurice whispered for calm. He asked the presence to stop the knocking. He asked it to start again. It obeyed. Maurice stated in his log, "Intelligent, responds quickly, not random." Something inside the room was listening.
Still here.
It wasn't a voice yet, not a clear one. Not like what would come later. But Maurice, he heard the beginning of it. A breath, a rasp, a strain of something trying to form words. The earliest flicker of the voice that would soon call itself Bill.
Because in the nights that followed, Maurice Grosse would capture something no one was prepared for. Growls, whispers, vocalizations, coming from an 11-year-old girl in a voice that didn't belong to her. A voice that would soon say,
Bill.
By the second week inside 284 Green Street, the knocking, the shaking beds, the flying objects, none of that compared to what came next. Because now, something in that house wanted to speak. And it chose Janet to do it.
Janet had always been fast-talking, energetic, a bright, playful kid. But the sound that slipped out of her didn't belong to any child. It began as a growl, low, hollow, bubbling up deep in her throat. Like someone straining to speak after decades of silence. At first, the family thought she was just joking. Then they realized Janet's lips weren't moving.
Maurice documented the first incident in his journal. Growling noises, not from mouth, appears from back of throat. Impossible for child to sustain. It wasn't a whisper. It wasn't a cough. It was a voice clawing its way into the room.
Maurice leaned in with the tape recorder, speaking softly, carefully. "Is someone here with us?" What answered wasn't Janet.
Hello.
Just one word, but enough to send a shock through the room. Peggy clutched her chest, Margaret back towards the wall, because that voice did not come from her sister.
Can you hear me?
Janet sat there dazed, eyes half open, body slack, as the raspy voice slipped out of her throat. Maurice watched closely. Her lips stayed shut, her jaw relaxed. Whatever was speaking wasn't using Janet's mouth. This was the moment that convinced him they were dealing with something much darker than a frightened family's imagination.
Investigator and author Guy Lyon Playfair joined the case shortly after. He had heard about the knocks, the furniture moving, the flying marbles, But nothing prepared him for hearing that voice. On his very first night, Janet's body went still. Eyes glazed, and the growl erupted. Playfair wrote, "A deep male voice coming from a little girl. What I heard was not Janet."
To rule out tricks or ventriloquism, Maurice set up a test. He poured water into a small cup and had Janet take a sip. She kept it in her mouth, cheeks puffed, lips closed tight. If she tried to speak, the water would spill immediately. This was their control. He pressed record.
For several seconds, the room stayed silent. Everyone waited. Then, the voice was speaking without her lips moving. Maurice froze. Peggy gasped. Playfair wrote, "Water remained in mouth. Voice continued. Cannot explain mechanism." Janet wasn't choking. She wasn't swallowing. Yet the voice kept coming.
The moment broke when Janet gagged and spat out the water onto her nightdress. Maurice reacted instantly. Not angry at Janet, but shocked at what he'd seen. "Janet, why spit it out?" The voice was speaking. We were getting it on tape. Later, in his journal, he wrote, "Voice sustained while water held in mouth. Experiment only interrupted by Janet expelling water." He wasn't frustrated at her. He was frustrated at the terrifying implication. The voice didn't depend on Janet's mouth to speak.
Told ya I'm here.
Then came the moment that turned this case from strange to legendary. Maurice asked the presence, "What is your name?" A long inhale, raspy, strained, filled the room. Then,
Bill Wilkins.
Janet blinked, as if waking from a dream, but she didn't seem to have heard the voice at all. Peggy's hands flew to her mouth. Margaret hid behind her. Maurice leaned closer. "Bill, how did you die?" Another pause. Another rattled breath.
Sat in me chair over there in the corner, and I died there.
this wasn't a random word or a child pretending. This was a death account, delivered in a voice that no 11-year-old could physically produce for longer than a few seconds. And yet Janet sustained it for minutes, hours, days. All of it captured on Maurice's tapes. All of it documented in his journals. This was the moment the Enfield case became undeniable.
So, if your guys' child held water in their mouth and a grown man's voice still spoke through her, would you believe what you were seeing?
Believe it? No.
There's... I don't know. I don't know how I would handle that.
I would be like, alright. I would like go up
All right.
close.
You're going to your grandma's.
You're going to your grandma's.
Grandma can take care of you from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good day, child.
Yeah.
Child of Satan, I don't know where you nope.
Okay, yeah, because one person was trying to claim that, well, what if when you turned your head, she swallowed the water and she was able to talk?
Uh-huh.
Like, well, we will never know, will we?
But then, my thing is, she spit it back out, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She spit the water right back out.
Well, I also know I know she did that a few times, and then he also taped her mouth shut, too, to see. And
The marbles.
Yeah, and then she's still,
I'm sorry, though. I would be a little bit wary of a dude, random dude, putting my 2 children to bed and then staying in the bedroom with them.
I think all of them were in there, though.
I was about to say, they all had to have been in there,
I think it was
because
in the
that
living
was
room.
It said one
creepy.
spot that
Yeah,
she was
all of
standing
them.
in the doorway.
All of them were watching.
That was creepy
Him and
as
his
hell.
colleagues. Yeah, he taped Janet's mouth shut after filling it with water as a test to determine the authenticity of the Bill Wilkins voice. According to accounts from both the investigators and Janet herself, the gruff masculine voice still reportedly came out, and after the test, the water was still in her mouth.
You know, it's kind of like when we went to the penitentiary. The whole time walking through there, I felt like something was watching me the entire time walking through there. So I could only imagine how these girls felt when they were laying in bed at night.
It says the water trick is a well-documented, though heavily debated, event in the history of the Enfield Poltergeist case, which remains controversial with no definitive conclusion accepted by all parties.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to test this theory myself. That's all my put water in my mouth and try to talk like a dude. I don't know.
This is Bill Wilkins.
Yeah.
This is Bill Wilkins.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, there's no.
Thanks work.
Yeah.
You would have to be a ventriloquist.
I'm gonna say, ventriloquists do it.
You would have to be.
Maybe she was just really good at doing it.
If she just figured it out overnight, she's a fucking phenomenal
With tape and
ventriloquist.
water in your mouth, all right.
Or without your lip moving, because like...
Yeah, because your lips have to be sealed.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think any of us can do it.
Growl with it. I don't know. Yeah.
The growl's easy, just the talking is like...
Yeah. I mean, apparently she still or sounded like Bill Wilkins.
Yeah, because you need them lips to make those...
Yeah. Because soon, investigators would track down a man who claimed he knew the real Bill Wilkins. A man who confirmed every detail the voice had spoken. Exactly. After the voice called itself Bill Wilkins, Maurice and Playfair were left with more questions than answers. A name, a death, a personality. It felt impossible. Then one night, a radio broadcast changed everything.
A late-night radio program played a short segment about the strange disturbances at 284 Green Street. They aired a small clip, just a few seconds of the gravelly voice speaking through Janet. Somewhere in Enfield, a man listening from his home went still, because he recognized that voice. The next morning, he contacted Maurice and introduced himself. I'm Bill Wilkins' son. Peggy covered her mouth. Janet stared at the floor. Maurice felt the blood drain from his face. Because it wasn't a rumor. It was family.
He sat down with Maurice and Playfair in a small Hodgson's living room. Then, they played the tape. The same growling, broken voice they'd heard come from Janet's throat. He listened, slowly exhaled, and whispered, "That sounds like my dad." Then he confirmed the details that chilled Maurice to the core. His father did live at 284 Green Street. He did die inside the house. He did collapse in the chair in the living room. He suffered a brain hemorrhage. He couldn't call for help, and he never got back up. Everything the voice claimed was true. Told ya.
No one had fed Janet this information. She hadn't met the man's son. She hadn't read local obituaries. She was 11. And yet the voice inside her knew exactly how Bill Wilkins died. With the identity confirmed, the activity inside the house turned darker. more violent, more unpredictable. Like something in the walls felt seen.
Janet began waking with bruises, scratches down her arms, red marks across her legs that hadn't been there hours before. Objects flew, furniture shook, a Lego shot across the living room so fast it left a welt on Playfair's cheek. Maurice wrote quickly, hands shaking. Janet thrown from bed, screaming, unseen force pulling hair, choking sounds. This wasn't mischief. The house was turning violent.
Then came the night Janet began to rise. Not like bouncing, not like jumping. She rose off the bed. Her back arched, her limbs stiff, her hair floating as if the air itself had hands. Maurice lifted his camera, capturing the silhouette of a little girl suspended in midair. Playfair scribbled, "Janet airborne. Height too high for bounce. Pierce thrown." These images would haunt investigators for decades.
Janet later said she didn't feel weightless. She felt pulled. I didn't feel like flying. It felt like someone grabbed me.
Told you I could do it.
The most terrifying moment came when Janet awoke, gasping for breath, her hands clawing at her throat, as if invisible fingers were wrapping around it. Peggy screamed. Maurice rushed towards her, but found no hands, no rope, no physical explanation. His journal reads, choking noises severe. Janet unable to breathe. No visible cause. Janet sobbed afterward. It felt like someone sitting on my chest.
She's mine.
The investigators were running out of logic, running out of explanations, running out of sleep. The house wasn't simply haunted. It was intelligent, reactive, violent. And with Bill Wilkins' son confirming the truth, there was no denying what they were dealing with.
So, if a stranger told you the voice coming from your child belonged to his father, and every detail the voice described matched the truth, what would you believe?
I mean, at that point, I would probably believe it.
Yeah.
Or I'd be like, okay, or ask her the girl if she'd been going through obituaries.
Be like, have you been reading the paper every Thursday?
Did you go to the library and look up some?
Did you stop taking the paper on Thursdays, okay? That's Mom's time to look at the obituaries. I need to see if any of my friends are in there, okay? No 11-year-old needs to be reading obituaries.
But if not, then yeah, that would be
It's just a little too close for coincidence.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the part of this case that gets me. Like, how would she know all this?
Yeah, multiple outside witnesses, the son coming forward and claiming that everything's right.
She just did her research really damn good. She just got really good at it. She was like, fuck this, I'm gonna get some attention, this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say that this man was named Bill Wilkins.
Yeah, I don't think that's just a coincidence. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because soon, the entity inside 284 Green Street would set its rights, not only on Janet, but on everyone who stepped inside the house. Investigators, neighbors, journalists. The haunting was nowhere near finished. Once Bill Wilkins' identity was confirmed, the haunting inside 284 Green Street changed. It wasn't focused solely on Janet anymore. It had a voice, a presence, and a name. And now, it wanted an audience. The house began turning on everyone who dared to step inside.
One of the earliest to experience it after investigators were the journalists. Reporters from the Daily Mirror arrived to photograph the family. But while interviewing Peggy, one of them felt a sudden violent shove in the middle of his back. He turned, nothing behind him. Then a toy shot across the floor and struck his leg hard enough to leave a bruise. His colleague refused to return to the house ever again. Playfair later wrote, "Seasoned reporters left white-faced."
Don't like him.
Maurice documented an event involving a metal spoon that shouldn't have been physically possible. He wrote, "Spoon bent in front of me. Slow, deliberate. No heat, no hands near it. He ran to pick it up, still warm. When he demanded aloud to know who did it, a loud knock exploded in the walls behind him. A single violent strike. Maurice jumped so hard, he dropped the spoon.
You asked.
Peggy's neighbors were some of the bravest people involved. They came over often, trying to comfort the children, trying to keep Peggy strong. One night, a neighbor walked into Janet's bedroom just in time to see her thrown backwards as if hit by an unseen blast of wind. She screamed and ran to yank Janet to her feet. Janet whispered, "He doesn't want anyone helping me."
Mine.
Up until now, Maurice had been the calm center in a storm of chaos. But even he wasn't safe. In one terrifying moment, he felt something grab his tie and pull it tight around his neck. He clawed at it, gasping, thinking he was having a heart attack, until the pressure suddenly stopped. No one was near him. Peggy swore she saw the end of his tie lift into the air, as if held by invisible fingers. Maurice wrote, "Entity strong, aware of me, not fond of interference."
Told ya, don't meddle.
One night, Playfair entered Janet's room after hearing a scream. The bed was shaking violently, Janet sobbing, the blankets whipping around her like they were caught in a storm. He reached out, and something slapped his hand away. Hard. He stumbled backward, staring in shock at his rutting skin. His entry reads, "Force hit my hand. No visible agent. Janet, unaware."
There was one night the house erupted so violently that everyone, Maurice, Playfair, Peggy, the neighbors, ran out into the street. Marbles fired like bullets. Doors slammed on their own. A heavy chest of drawers slammed against a wall without anyone touching it. Margaret swore someone whispered her name right into her ear. Bill's voice, crackling through the chaos, came from the corner of the room where no one was standing.
Get out.
Janet sobbed into her mother's chest as the house fell silent again. Maurice wrote in the final entry of that night, "We are not in control here."
The haunting at 284 Green Street was no longer just a series of strange events. It was violent, targeted, intelligent. And no one who entered the house walked away the same.
So if you stepped into a house and felt it shove you, scratch you, grab you by the throat, would you go back inside? Or would you run until you couldn't hear it anymore?
I would not go back inside.
See, again, I don't know.
It's attacking everybody. At this point, no one's safe, so I'm not going back.
Yeah, like at that point, there's nothing else you gotta figure out. Like,
But see, I'm
Marbles shooting through like bullets. Nope.
I'm that person that would want to go back in.
I don't want to lose my eye today.
I mean, I unfortunately, because of my dumbass self, would want to go in. I would want to make sure I was actually seeing what I was seeing.
Yeah.
I want to make sure on that.
Unlike the 7th time this happened?
I want to make sure I know it's happening. If I have to get it to do it 20 times, I want to make sure it's happening. Because I do not want to walk up to a doctor and be like, bro, my dresser moved. Okay, you need to see a psychiatrist.
My dresser moved.
No. Bro, I'm telling you.
If it's happening too many times.
Well, at this point, not only do you have...
Where are the priests at?
Well, they still haven't been
Fucking
called yet
Vatican.
because they don't have enough proof.
I know, but like, come on.
Like, you got the neighbors witnessing
Right.
this. You got random people
They'll be like,
witnessing this. Reporters
no,
witnessing
not
this.
good enough.
Well, they would because it's the Vatican.
I know.
They don't
Yeah,
have to
you
step
see
in on whatever
those-
they don't want to step in on.
You see those fingerprints
Unfortunately.
around the neck? Yeah? Nah, that's not good enough evidence either.
The Vatican's considered their own territory over there. Like, They
Yep.
have their own rules, their own laws.
I know.
They are something else. They're like,
Mm.
They're not playing.
It's like a
they've
Catholic
won.
reservation.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh God, yeah. 100%.
Which, I mean, yeah, they have to have follow their own, I get it.
It's still, still though, like for a case like this, they should have got involved a lot sooner.
Because the chaos inside Enfield was leading toward a single terrifying conclusion, a breaking point that nearly destroyed Maurice Grosse, fractured the Hodgson family, and forced investigators to face a question none of them wanted to ask. What if this entity didn't want to leave? By the late autumn of 1977, the house at 284 Green Street had become a pressure chamber. Weeks of attacks, sleepless nights, children levitating, Peggy crying, Maurice and Playfair barely keeping up. The haunting was no longer just active, it was relentless, and every person who entered that home felt themselves unraveling.
Peggy reached her limit first. She stopped sleeping altogether. She jumped at every sound. She began shaking uncontrollably whenever Janet entered a room. One night, Maurice found her sitting at the kitchen table with her head in her hands. She whispered, "I don't know how to protect them anymore." Her voice cracked. Maurice sat beside her, but even he looked defeated. He wrote, "Family exhausted, fear now constant, emotional breaking point approaching."
The entity began mimicking voices in the home. Playfair documented hearing Peggy's voice calling from upstairs, even though she was beside him. Margaret's voice laughing in the hallway while she was asleep. And one occasion where Janet's voice whispered from behind a door, even though Janet was at the kitchen table. He wrote, "Entity intimidating family. Intent, confusion, psychological weakening." The haunting was no longer just physical. It had become personal. "Come here, love."
Playfair said it was the single most disturbing development. The house wasn't just making noise anymore. It was learning them, studying them, using their own voices as weapons.
As the story spread internationally, paranormal researchers from outside Britain began arriving. Among them were Ed and Lorraine Warren. Their visit was brief, a single appearance, not part of the official investigation, but it left a mark. Lorraine later said the house felt thick, choking, as if something was draining the air. Ed believed the family was in grave danger, but Playfair maintains they overstated their involvement. This wasn't their case. The house belonged to Maurice, Playfair, Peggy, and whatever else lived inside it.
Don't need them.
The Warrens left with the sense that something dark was present, but the haunting continued without them.
One night, Margaret ran screaming into the hallway as Janet thrashed out her bed. Maurice and Playfair burst into the room to find Janet arched backwards so violently They feared her spine would snap. Her eyes rolled back. Her fingers crawled at the sheets. Maurice shouted her name. No response. The voice, Bill, came from somewhere deep in her chest.
Can't stop me.
Maurice wrote, Janet possessed, eyes closed, voice not hers, movements dangerous, intervention necessary. At one point, he physically held her shoulders down to keep her from slamming her head into the wall. Peggy sobbed, screaming for Bill to leave her daughter alone. The entity did not listen.
The stress inside the home began fracturing the investigators too. Playfair and Maurice, usually united, began fighting over strategy. Maurice wanted more physical control. Playfair wanted more psychological study. They snapped at each other, accused each other of losing objectively. Playfair wrote, "House affecting us. Arguments irrational. Emotional state compromised. Even the professionals were breaking apart."
Good fight.
After hours of chaos, tears, screams, and fear, the house went quiet. Too quiet. Maurice ended the night with one sentence. It feels like the end is coming, but I don't know for who.
Because the haunting of Enfield was building toward a final phase, a point where Janet's body couldn't take more, a point where the investigators were forced to confront what they truly believed, and a point where the entity revealed its darkest intentions. As winter set in, the Enfield haunting entered a phase even Maurice struggled to describe. The knocks became louder, the voices clearer, the attacks more deliberate, and Janet was fading. She was exhausted, pale, barely eating, barely sleeping. Maurice wrote, Janet deteriorating physically, entity stronger, patterns more intelligent. It was no longer just activity, it was escalation.
Late one night, Maurice left his recorder running at the foot of Janet's bed. What he captured is still one of the most disturbing clips in the entire case. Janet coughed, a dry, violent cough, and then the voice spoke again. But this time, it wasn't just Bill. It was layered. Multiple voices stacked, overlapping, a chorus of something trying to force its way out.
We're still here.
Playfair later said that the voice felt less like a personality and more like a fracture. Pieces of something broken trying to organize themselves. Maurice disagreed. He believed it was something singular, something watching, something waiting.
Around this time, Janet began reporting a scratching sound inside her body. Not on her skin, inside. She pointed to her lower back, clawing at her nightdress, saying, "It's in me. I can feel it moving." Maurice and Playfair watched helplessly as she doubled over in pain. On tape, you can hear Maurice whisper, "Dear God, help this child."
Then came the night that nearly broke Maurice Grosse. Janet woke screaming, thrashing, slamming her fist into the mattress. Peggy tried to hold her, but Janet threw her off, with the strength far beyond her size. Maurice grabbed her wrist to keep her from hurting herself. Janet lifted off the bed. Not floating, not arched. Lifted, straight upward, as if pulled by the shoulders. Maurice later said, "It felt like something was lifting her away from me.
Don't touch her.
Maurice stumbled backward, fell against the nightstand, and knocked over the lamp. The room went dark. In that darkness, Janet's voice shifted into the most chilling tone ever documented in the case.
I'll kill you.
Maurice wrote, "This was the first moment I feared for my life. Not because Janet attacked him, but because something used Janet to speak those words."
Just as suddenly as it began, the chaos stopped. Janet collapsed onto her pillow, breathing softly, as if she'd been asleep the whole time. Maurice checked her pulse. Peggy wiped her forehead. Playfair stood in the doorway, too stunned to speak. The house was quiet. Too quiet. And Maurice ended his journal entry that night with, "We are nearing the end, but I fear the end may be the worst part."
Because the haunting of Enfield was reaching its final stretch, a stretch where Janet's body could no longer take the strain, where the entity began losing control, and where one final shocking event left the investigators questioning everything they thought they understood.
By early 1978, the haunting at 284 Green Street had shifted again. The violent peak had passed, but the house was not quiet. Instead, the activity became unpredictable, erratic, almost unstable. Maurice wrote, "Entity weakening or changing form, behavior less consistent." The Hodgsons found no relief, only confusion.
Some nights, nothing happened at all. No knocks, no voices. Janet slept soundly. Peggy dared to hope. But the next night, a drawer would slide open by itself. A shoe would fly across the hallway. A loud crash would send the entire family running from their beds. The haunting wasn't fading. It was fraying.
Playfair noted, pattern unclear. Possible disposition of energy. He believed the poltergeist was burning itself out. Maurice disagreed. He wrote, "It's still here, still listening, just tired."
Janet started missing school. She had nightmares, panic attacks, and moments of blank staring where she didn't seem present. Her teachers became alarmed. Her body was exhausted, her mind overstressed, her voice raw from episodes she barely remembered. Peggy said, "She's slipping away from me." And Janet herself began asking Maurice, "Why won't he leave me alone?" But Maurice had no answer.
Still here.
As the case spread, skeptics and media personalities arrived at Green Street. Some were respectable, some weren't. One investigator accused the girl of faking, or even as marbles dropped from the ceiling in front of him. Another claimed Janet could have produced the voice herself, ignoring the medical expert who warned she risked damaging her vocal cords permanently if she attempted it for even a few minutes. Maurice grew furious. He wrote, "Critics see what they want. They don't stay long enough to understand."
But the hardest blow came when a photographer caught Janet bending a spoon with her hands. She wasn't trying to fool anyone. She was exhausted, confused, a child under enormous stress, in a house where bending spoons and flying objects had become normal. But the image spread everywhere. The word hoax began circling the family like vultures. Siri. Always have to make your appearance, don't you?
Playfair defended them fiercely. He wrote, "Children under pressure may intimidate phenomenon. Doesn't invalidate the real events." Maurice agreed. Behind closed doors, he called the accusations heartless.
When cornered, Janet admitted she faked a few small incidents. A prank, a scare, a moment of feeling powerful in a situation where she was powerless. But she insisted through tears. Most of it was real. I swear, I couldn't stop it. Maurice believed her. Playfair believed her. Peggy believed her. And decades later, medical experts reviewing the tapes stated plainly, no child could sustain that deep male voice without permanent vocal damage. Not for weeks, not for hours, not even for minutes.
Don't need her voice.
By spring, the knocks were softer, the object slower, the voice quieter. It felt like a storm passing, but leaving wreckage in its wake. Janet's energy slowly returned. Margaret smiled again. Billy and Johnny slept through the night, and Peggy dared to breathe. But the house still felt watched. Maurice wrote, "Presence fading, but not gone."
By the summer of 1978, the violent incidents had nearly stopped. Janet still felt watched. Peggy still heard noises. Occasionally, objects moved. But the worst was over. Maurice continued checking in for months after that, his involvement stretching through roughly 18 months in total. Playfair stayed in contact for years. The haunting had scared them all.
Not done.
But the entity was losing its grip, and soon, one final moment would bring the case to a quiet, unexpected end. So, if you were 11 years old, and the world said you were lying, even as someone spoke through you, how would you convince anyone you were telling the truth?
Bring them home.
Yeah,
Let them witness the same things
Yeah.
everyone else has witnessed.
that's what I would say.
Yep.
If you don't believe me, come stay the night.
Come stay the night at my house, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Guarantee you the next morning you'll have a different understanding of my
And
house.
don't you come crying to me when he's choking you.
Right?
Yeah, don't come crying to me when you're on the bed and he's fucking choking you out.
I don't want to see no tears when your head touches your heels backwards and you almost snap your spine.
Yeah, don't be a little bitch. You didn't believe it, so don't be a little bitch about it.
I mean, I could see why people are saying that, but at the same time,
Well, there's always
you didn't
skeptics.
witness it. You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
witness it firsthand, you know.
That's just we live in the show me state, so that's one thing we all believe. You gotta show me for me to believe.
Which I get it, but
Yeah.
like, I do feel bad for her.
That's only
I
because we
do
live around
too.
a bunch of liars.
She was 11 years old, you know. And how
Jefferson County.
how did she know Bill Wilkins stuff? That's what gets me.
Yeah. Unless she decided to get up in the middle of the night and start
Exactly.
some way, somehow researching
Or like
this
heard
dude.
it somehow
Yeah.
and like, oh, you know, but I don't know.
Like,
So,
heard about it, somebody talking about it in their sleep or some shit, and she's like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna play this.
but without that
I'm curious
fact,
though,
Exactly.
or what are you gonna think?
what if like they went to school and one of the kids is like, you know, you're living.
But I feel like that would like come out,
That would have came
that's
out
what
pretty
I thought too,
quick.
because
you know, like, oh, I told her that, or
Like, that would have came out pretty quick.
but I don't know.
doesn't explain the crooked man.
Siri.
There's our ghost.
Yeah, the ghost cat. Bill Wilkins is speaking through her.
I'm Bill Wilkins. I took over this cat.
Yeah. By the spring of 1978, the Enfield Poltergeist was reaching its final breaths. Not because the family fought it off, not because of a priest or ritual, not because of any one moment of triumph. It ended the same way it began, suddenly, unexpectedly and without logic. But before the quiet came, there was one last outburst.
It happened late one night while Maurice and Playfair were in the living room. They heard a scream, the kind of scream that made your blood run cold. They sprinted to Janet's room. Janet was thrashing violently, her back arching off the bed, her hands clawing at her throat as if she were choking on something no one else could see. Peggy cried out, begging whatever was in the room to stop. Maurice held Janet's wrists, trying to keep her from hurting herself. Playfair grabbed the tape recorder with shaking hands. Janet's head jerked back, like something was pulling her by the hair. And then...
Let me go.
It was the voice, but softer, frayed, as if even it was losing its strength. Maurice wrote, "Entity weakening. Janet in distress. Situation untenable." He knew something had to change, and fast.
At the advice of doctors and investigators, Peggy made a heartbreaking decision. She sent Janet to a child psychiatric unit for several weeks. Not because she believed Janet was mentally ill, but because she needed rest, distance, a place where the house couldn't reach her. Maurice visited her. Peggy cried. Janet asked if he would follow her, but he didn't. And inside 284 Green Street, the activity nearly vanished.
And also, a priest was involved in 1978. It says, with the Hodgson family believing a priest visit in 1978 helped calm the activity, though it didn't end completely. It's a detail often overlooked in favor of the more famous paranormal investigators like the Warrens.
Of course.
According to Janet Hodgson, a priest visited their home in 1978, and after this, the intensity of the poltergeist activity decreased, though some phenomena persisted. While Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated, the family felt their involvement was less significant than depicted in movies, and the real calming factor was the priest.
I could see that.
And I know she was sent away too, but
Yeah, I could see the priest.
I just wanted to add that in here.
Yeah, but I could definitely see the priest bringing the piece to the
the
confrontation.
At that point, they obviously had enough
Yeah.
recording.
And how they said Ed and Lorraine Warren, I mean, obviously it was Hollywood saying, oh yeah, they did this, they did that. No.
I mean, they showed up, but it was brief. It was like a day.
Yeah, it wasn't even, they didn't even fully investigate it.
No,
they didn't fully go into it. They didn't,
More like just made their presence.
Lorraine didn't go into her full clairvoyant thing.
No. Nope. Which is interesting.
Very interesting, because if she felt like it was a dark entity, don't you think you would have been a little bit more involved?
Yeah.
Especially for something like that?
Especially if you went all the way, traveled all the way over there.
And I mean, I'm kind of glad Hollywood did that in a sense of where they made their own story to it.
Yeah.
Because it
was
made
good.
it. Like, I would have thought Lorraine would have had a lot more to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. But, the silence was eerie. No knocking, no shaking beds, no voices. The house without Janet felt empty, like something had lost its anchor. Maurice wrote, activity minimal, presence dissipating.
When Janet finally returned home, the change was immediate. She was calmer, clearer, more herself. The knocking continued, but softer, like echoes instead of warnings. The voice tried to emerge once more, a low rasp, but quickly faded to silence. The entity was slipping away. Peggy said the house felt lighter. Even Billy and Johnny slept without fear. And Maurice, for the first time in months, allowed himself to exhale. Still watching.
But even that final whisper was weaker, a shadow of what it had been. The poltergeist was not defeated. It was simply fading out.
Over the next months, Maurice continued returning to the house. He talked with Peggy, checked in on the children, and listened for signs of activity. There were flickers, knocks, small movements, but nothing like before. By mid-1979, the haunting had all but ended. Maurice hugged the Hodgson children one last time. Peggy cried into his shoulder. Playfair stood silently, hands in his pockets. Maurice later wrote, "Leaving the house felt like leaving a battlefield, but we had survived it. It wasn't victory, it wasn't defeat, it was simply the end."
Because the story of Enfield didn't end inside the house, what came next was a battle of skeptics and believers. Accusations of hoaxes, scientific studies, and one final revelation from Bill Wilkins' son that changed the story forever.
When the phenomena finally tapered off in 1979, the Hodgsons weren't free. They simply entered a different kind of haunting, one made of opinions, accusations, and doubts. Because as soon as the house went quiet, the world started talking.
Skeptics swarmed the case, not during the darkest nights, but afterwards, when it was easy. They pointed to Janet being photographed bending a spoon, Margaret laughing in one moment of tension, a staged prank the girls later admitted, a photo of Janet midair that might have been jumping. Many used these few moments to dismiss 18 months of documented phenomena. Peggy said, "People believed what they wanted, and Janet, only 11, felt personally attacked."
When pressed, Janet admitted that she and Margaret did fake some small incidents, a few tricks, a frightened child acting out after months of trauma. She said it was about 2%. Maurice wrote, "Children under pressure, intimidate phenomena, does not negate the rest." Playfair agreed. He believed the sisters sometimes played around, but the vast majority of what he witnessed was real. And medical experts later confirmed, no child could sustain that deep voice without permanent vocal damage. Not for hours, not for days, and not for 18 months.
Critics pointed to the levitation photos, claiming Janet was jumping. Playfair pushed back. He insisted he saw her lifted, Margaret saw her lifted, neighbors saw her lifted, Maurice saw her lifted, and photographers witnessed it happen. A jump, he said, doesn't send a child backwards across a room, or lift her at angles that defy simple gravity. But skeptics weren't interested.
Journalists accused Janet of using false vocal cords. Doctors examined her. They warned that if she had forced a voice like that, she could damage her throat permanently within minutes. Yet, she produced the voice for months, under medical supervision, with water in her mouth, with tape across her lips. And the voice still spoke. Maurice called it the strongest evidence of intelligence.
Even the Society for Psychical Research was divided. Some investigators believed the case was exaggerated. Others, including Playfair and Grosse, argued passionately that the core events were unmistakably real. Playfair wrote, "If this was a hoax, and those children faked everything we saw, then they were geniuses. and they were not geniuses. Maurice was more blunt, he said. There was something in that house. Something real.
It was the confirmation no skeptic could explain. A dead man's story spoken through a child who couldn't have known it. A detail that silenced even the harshest critics. For 18 months, something inside that house spoke, threw, scratched, lifted, and tormented a family already hurting. And then it left. But its echo never did. So, if a child admitted to faking a single moment, would you throw everything else away that she lived through? Or would you wonder what fear makes a child pretend in the middle of something that they can't control?
I mean, if I'm there seeing this stuff go on and they're worried about her having a hoax of faking a voice, I'm like, okay, so the voice was one thing, but how do you explain the dresser? How do you explain the scratches? Who the fuck is knocking?
I mean, seriously, how can you explain a voice like that?
That, yes. I do know in that, the series, Poltergeist, documentary, I know Maurice, they were heard knocking and they walked in the room and Janet was on the door. It looked like she was knocking on the floor. But I mean, that's another thing, like, she did say that some
stuff, was exaggerated. I do believe some stuff was way overplayed.
Well, the mom was arguing a lot. She didn't have money for biscuits, so...
Exactly. I mean, Billy kept wanting the biscuits. So what was she to do to get the biscuits? Gotta make up some stuff.
Hoping publicity would get her paid.
Mommy, I really want my biscuits.
Yeah, but
I ain't got any bloody money.
Without being there and seeing it myself, you just gotta go by all this. You know, what was documented, what was...
Unless you were there, you're gonna be a skeptic. You're not.
You wonder,
how
but
much
what
of
makes
it?
It interesting.
Yeah, I mean, how much of it really happened? How much did Janet actually speak like a dude?
Yeah.
I mean,
but then you have all these screamers, vocalists. Their voices are fine, but I guess that's different because she's 11. Still 11. Yeah.
She's 11, and it's a deep man's voice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could try and get down real deep.
But she was
it's real
legitly growling though,
too. Just hearing some of the stuff she said from some of the recordings I could hear.
It does sound.
It sounds a little bit too hard for a child to do that.
Yeah. I mean, even the son agreed. No, that's my dad's voice. So
that's my dad.
That's another thing. How do you explain that?
That's daddy.
So I don't know.
I mean, you really can't.
It's just one of those things. When the Enfield Poltergeist finally fell quiet in 1979, the world moved on. The newspapers stopped calling, the investigators packed their equipment, the crowds outside the house faded away. But for the Hodgson family, the haunting never truly left. Because what happened inside 284 Green Street wasn't just a story. It was something that settled into their bones.
Janet and Margaret grew up, still carrying the weight of those years. Janet said she never wanted fame, never wanted attention. She just wanted the voices to stop. As an adult, she said, "I know what I experienced, and it stayed with me for the rest of my life." Margaret went quiet about it, not out of shame, but because talking about it made her hands shake. Billy and Johnny remember the flashes of chaos, nights of fear, and the look in their mother's eyes. But Peggy never left 284 Green Street. She lived in that house until the day she died in 2003. And according to her children, the upstairs rooms never truly felt peaceful.
Maurice Grosse never forgot this case. He kept the tapes, the journals, the photographs, every scrap of evidence Years later, he said, Enfield changed me. I went in as skeptic and came out believing. There are forces we do not understand. Maurice died in 2006. Playfair died in 2018. Both men spent the rest of their careers defending this family.
And Janet, she said that after the haunting ended, she felt watched. She still felt watched. Not by something evil, but by something that wanted to be remembered.
Peggy Hodgson remained in the house for many years after the haunting ended. She never publicly changed her story, never recanted, never claimed it was a hoax. After Peggy's death, the house was eventually occupied by new families. Some later residents said nothing unusual ever happened again. Others described the house as uncomfortable, heavy, or simply not a place they wanted to stay long. No one experienced what the Hodgsons endured. And maybe that's the most unsettling part. Whatever lived there didn't follow the house. It followed the family. Or perhaps it had already said everything it needed to say.
Bill Wilkins' story became the defining piece of evidence. Skeptics couldn't explain. His son never wavered. That was my dad's voice. The cadence, the details, the death account, all from a girl who could have not known it. Even decades later, experts revisiting the tapes couldn't replicate the voice without serious throat strain. Janet never suffered vocal damage. Maurice once said, "The voice was the doorway, the key to whatever lived there." And maybe it was. Still here.
And maybe he always will be.
So, if a haunting ends but the memories stay and the voice echoes in the recordings that still exist today, does the haunting ever really die? Or does it simply move behind the veil?
I don't think it ever really dies. I mean, the recordings still bring it back to life, you know.
Yeah, the memory's always going to be there.
But if the house now is quiet,
It's almost to me like the family itself was...
what it was holding on to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was something with the family.
Like
Yeah.
the Bell Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There had to have been something to that family that made this entity do what it did.
Well, maybe that's all Bill Wilkins needed was just a vessel to
he
He's
just
the black
needed
monk.
to talk through, you know, to say, hey,
I'm still
'Cause I
here,
mean,
bitch. I didn't die.
the way he died, I mean, sad.
And if you think about it, he never got to call out. He
Yeah.
never got to call anybody.
True.
So maybe that was his way. He was just pissed off with the world that he
Yeah.
didn't get his chance to have, to
Mm-hmm.
call for help. He didn't get that chance. He got the short end of the stick.
Exactly.
He got the nope.
Yep.
You're dead. There's nothing else.
And then maybe he was at peace finally, and
And,
we'll move on.
I
don't
mean,
know.
maybe he finally just got tired of it and was like, you know what? I'm done. This isn't worth it anymore.
I can see that. It's kind of, poetic in a way.
Kinda.
I mean,
Kinda.
well, that and the son just, no, that was his voice. Like, how would she
The
know how
son
he
explaining
sounded
and saying that was his voice, that was a pretty good
indicator that,
okay,
yeah,
there's something is going on.
out of this world involved in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's one of those hauntings that I can be behind, I guess.
Yeah.
Very interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Old Bill Wilkins.
Bill Wilkins.
Bill.
Does your voice hurt after doing that? I'm curious.
It does often, but
Well, I mean, I'm just
also
trying
a dude in my 30s.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to think like 11. If
I'm
it
also a
hurts
dude
you,
in my
then
30s.
It only hurts if you do it too long. Longer you do it, the longer it hurts.
Well, see, that's what I mean. Like, if it's hurting
If I did
you,
it for 18
imagine
months,
an
I don't
11-year-old
know.
girl.
If I did it for 18 months, I'd be screwed. I'll be screwed.
Your vocal cords would be gone.
I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
going to do.
They would be obliterated.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, okay, well, that's why I
No
asked.
cheerio for this,
Yeah.
mate.
Like, all right, well, there's another.
I mean, there's just
Some
one
evidence.
way of confirming if
Yeah.
she was able to do it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But you gotta get deeper.
No, you
All
need
right,
to
that
ask
was
Jamie.
Satan.
You need to ask Jamie about whatever. Bauer. Does your voice hurt?
Mr. J?
Sure, it does. Vocals.
Oh, I guarantee you his voice is like fucked
Yeah,
after
so-
he does it for so long.
But like, that's the thing. Like, they're dudes, and then this is an 11-year-old
But-
girl talking like that.
But you also have to think Jamie is going from talking like an actual person to going back to doing that to going back to using a light voice. So he's kind of given himself his voice a little bit of a break. And that's what I think she was doing. Because she was doing it for 18 months, but going back and forth, she was giving those vocal cords a break.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, 'cause
So-
they say it was consistent, but it's not like from the time she woke up, she talked like that. to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
time
yeah.
But
fell
she
asleep,
was
but-
going back and forth. So at some point, she was giving her vocal cords that break that
Yeah.
they needed, so that way, when Bill came back, it's just as strong.
True. I mean, I can see both sides, definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don't know. It's interesting. Because whether you believe the Enfield case was a hoax, a haunting, or something caught in between, the truth remains. For 18 months, a family lived through something no one could fully explain. And the world has never stopped talking about it. And that concludes our deep dive into the Enfield Poltergeist, one of the most documented, most debated hauntings in history. Whether you believe it was real, fabricated, or something far more complicated, what happened inside 284 Green Street left a mark that never truly faded.
18 months of fear, voices, and unanswered questions don't disappear quietly, and neither do the echoes they leave behind.
If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow or subscribe to Veil of Echoes wherever you're listening.
And if you'd like to support the show, leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcast or Spotify helps more listeners find us and keeps the stories alive.
You can also share this episode with someone who loves true crime or the unexplained, and join the conversation with us on social media. We love hearing your theories.
This Monday, we step away from the paranormal and into one of the most haunting disappearances in true crime history. The disappearance of Maura Murray. A crashed car on a dark New Hampshire road, a final phone call, and a young nursing student who vanished into the winter night without a trace.
Was it an accident? A choice? Or something far darker? Join us Monday as we break down the timeline, the theories, and the unanswered questions that have haunted this case for over 20 years.
Until then, keep your ears open.
And the veil closed.